This is Providence Television International, the toast of today's television viewers. Don't be left out.
Thanks for staying tuned. My name is Ugbebo Ikikwa, and just like that intro said, this is the newspaper analysis on the Morning Drive Providence Television International. With me in the studio is Dr. Emmanuel Egariba. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Welcome back again. We had a little respite yesterday, so today we are back, and I hope all our viewers around the globe will stay tuned to us.
Well, we'll move straight to this day newspapers, where on the front page we have CBN. No retirement date for old Naira banknotes. Remain legal tender indefinitely. A rider to that effect, as House of Reps asks Apex Bank to phase out old currency notes, says banks should cease to pay customers with old denominations.
This cannot go by any other name except confusion. Absolute confusion. The executive is saying one thing, the National Assembly is saying something else, okay? And this has to do with our national currency, which is a sign, a symbol of our sovereignty. Truly speaking, you cannot have two currencies running side by side indefinitely. No, it's not done anywhere in the world, but they can go on for quite some time.
Okay.
One of them must have an expiry date. That's true. And in this case, the old currency. Which means that the National Assembly, the House of Reps, they are right.
Okay.
But what of logistics? Because they are talking about December 31st, I think, which is just around the corner. How prepared is the CBN for this?
Okay.
How prepared? We had the issues with Emefiele when he was on board, and there was not enough. I mean, in terms of the new currencies, we didn't have enough in the system, and that created a lot of ripples all over the place. Some people died in the process.
Yes.
They didn't have enough. Not really. I mean, all the old currencies, I don't want to use the word seized, but they were kept in the banks. The new ones they couldn't get. So there was an issue. In fact, people were now buying our currencies openly.
Yes.
They were buying the new currencies.
Quite true.
Yes. And in the process of trying to get the new currencies or whatever, people lost their lives in this same country until there was a relief from the government that, no, the two should go side by side. And what is happening now is even the new notes that we are talking about, they are not quite as good as the old ones. Yes. In terms of colors, in terms of texture, they're not quite as good. I mean, people still prefer the old currency notes. And a lot of billions went into the printing of the new currency notes. So where are we? We're at a point where we should now begin to think of, I mean, this is very urgent. We must think of what to do because December 31st is here. Yes. Very soon we enter November. We're in November, December is staring us in the face. All right? So, the government must meet as a matter of urgency with the National Assembly so that they can begin to speak with one voice. Okay. There are discordant notes now at the moment coming from the same administration. That's the ridicule. I mean, this whole enterprise. So I believe that the Central Bank, of course, is an agency of the federal government. They have said that there is no time limit. And we cannot continue to have that. It's not a timeless thing. There must be a time when we phase out one and we begin to use one. We cannot continue to use two currencies at the same time. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't at all.
So you're proposing that it should be gradually phased
It's a gradual process.
It's a gradual process.
It's a gradual process. And at the end of the day, we must give at least some room for people to...
and not this December rush thing, so it doesn't take us back to the Emefiele time.
Yes, that episode is not something we want to remember. Yes.
Well, we'll move to the front page of the Punch newspapers, where we have Cabinet reshuffle. Presidency defends Tinubu as federal government slashes ministers' vehicles, aids. A rider to that effect, Tinubu seeks Senate confirmation, and this is off ministerial list. We'll tie this to the front page of the Nigerian News Direct, where we also have cost of governance, Tinubu slashes ministers, head of agency's convoy to 3 vehicles, gives nod to attachment of 5 security personnel to each minister, and directs NSA to coordinate immediate reduction of ministers' vehicles' security personnel.
It's such a pity. It's such a pity because we're going back and forth.
Okay.
First of all, I want to start by the fact that, there's a reduction in number of ministers, but additional ministers. I mean, some were sacked, about 5, about 7.
7 appointed.
So it's on the upward swing rather than reduce. Okay? I was thinking that the number of ministers should be reduced considerably.
Okay.
Consider to about 36 or thereabouts. So you have each state having one minister.
One minister.
Yes. And this whole idea of having junior ministers, it just doesn't add up.
Okay.
Why must we have 2 ministers for one ministry? And the number of ministries is too large. Too large. Why? Why must we have up to 46 ministries in a country that is very close to depression? So it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up one bit. And secondly, we're talking about reduction in the number of cars in the convoy.
Yes.
I can tell you straight that they cannot enforce that. They won't be able to enforce it. 3 vehicles for ministers. Each minister. Let me tell you, when a minister is going out, he has a pilot vehicle. That's where all the security details will stay. Now, vehicles for the press. Because each minister goes out, he has the press crew, as it were. The minister is in the vehicle. He has a backup, that's 4. Then, of course, he has escort. That's 5 already.
Okay.
Yes. Ordinarily, we're talking about 5. So if you are talking about 3 vehicles now, it means the pilot, the minister's vehicle, and maybe the escort. That's all. Okay? I don't know how the configuration will look like, quite frankly. But I don't think that's even the problem of this country now. We are talking about reduction of the number of ministers.
Okay.
So that the aides can also be reduced. The number of aides cannot, because they go with the ministers.
Exactly.
Yes. Special assistants, assistants, and all sorts.
Senior special assistant, junior special assistant.
Some assistants will even have junior assistants. So all this is quite unfortunate. It's very unfortunate indeed. But I think that to cut costs in governance, the whole thing must go down the line.
Okay.
Yes. You know how many parastatals we have in this country? Parastatals. Those are the ones people don't even know. We know of the ministers. What of the heads of parastatals?
Exactly.
Yes, most are not known. And yes, they're also a big drain on this country. There are some parastatals whose budgets are almost as big as the budgets of some states. Yes, they are hidden somewhere. Right, yes. So we must cut costs, and cutting costs means that personnel must be reduced to the barest minimum. Personnel costs, particularly with the ministers. Yes, all those aides that you see all over the place running around just doing nothing. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Even at the National Assembly, it must even start from there.
Okay.
Yes, they have aides, all kinds of aides attached to each senator and even House of Reps members. So we must cut costs. And cutting costs also means that we must reduce the number of, and this is quite serious really, the number of security personnel. You have been told now that each minister has about 5. Now multiply that by the number of ministers. And yet we are talking about lack of security.
Okay.
These police officers should be engaged somewhere to fight insecurity. Yes, you are attaching them to ministers. As if the ministers' lives are more important than the lives of ordinary people. No. One life to live. Okay? In advanced countries, in Western countries, you won't find this kind of thing. No, you won't. Right. Some ministers, you call them secretaries in some countries, in Western countries, they drive themselves to the office.
Yes, if I remember...
They drive themselves to the office.
If I remember very well, some time ago we were having a personal discussion, and I remember you telling me that even when there was provision for housing for you while you were in government, You were like, you don't
No,
need
I
it.
can always say that. I mean, it's there. I mean, I was chief press secretary. I didn't stay in any government quarters. I refused completely because I had my own house. Yes, that is what should be happening in government. If you really want to cut costs, there is no minister who does not have a house of his or her own. Why must you not have quarters? Yes, why? You have your own house. Stay in your house. Right. Even at a very tender age in those days, I had my house. I'm still living there till now. Yes, the children are all grown up. Just myself and my wife. Okay? The children are all grown up. They've left the house. Right? So, when they called me, I remember the Secretary of Government then called me. Said, oh, Emmanuel, you get prepared for your official quarters. I said, no, sir, I don't need it. And guess what? He also stayed in his personal residence.
Okay.
Yes.
And so does that now mean that this issue of wastages, as the case may be, that it is a recent thing? Is it that Nigerians no longer have the mind to serve the people without having to get from the government?
Exactly.
Like in your
that's
case?
The issue. Yes, that's the issue. Because there's no spirit of service.
Okay.
There's no spirit of nationalism, no spirit of service, real service. Talking about real service. Because there's no reason why, for instance, a commissioner in the state cannot drive himself to the office.
Okay.
If you must have a chauffeur, or what ordinarily we call a driver, pay him from your resource. Pay him. That should not be at government expense. It shouldn't be. Why? Why must it be? You have a driver, you have, some even have two drivers.
Yeah.
Why must it be? These are areas we must look at. We must think out of the box all the time. We must minimize cost. Cost of governance is too much in this country. Let me give you a typical example. I was at a church ceremony one day, and the governor, Mr. Baseke, he was attending the church service. I think it was Thanksgiving or something.
Okay.
The priest was still in his office, waiting for, I don't want to mention any name. He was waiting in his office for the arrival of the governor. And then somebody ran to him and said, Father, please, the governor is around. But I didn't hear siren. Because the governor, Obaseki, he drove himself to the church. I'm talking of St. Joseph here, St. Joseph Catholic Church. Yes, he drove himself. That's leadership, that's service. He drove himself. And the priest now started running. Oh, where is he? Where is he? He was already seated. Humility, service.
Okay.
Yes. He drove himself. There was a day I went to St. Augustine's Catholic Church, again, for Thanksgiving service. I was going around because it was not time for us to go into the church. Okay. And lo and behold, who did I meet sitting quietly? Governor Yegun, my boss. Sitting quietly. And I said, Your Excellency. Why? He said, no, please, how did you come? I came alone. What of the driver? He said he had to rest because today is Sunday. Yes, he said so. Told me that. Yes. Well, so there are things we must talk about, and these are real. These are real issues.
Well, let's move down to the front page of the Leadership Today, Leadership Friday newspapers. $1.5 billion dairy imports. Tinubu begins livestock reforms, rallies governors' supports. Federal government eyes revenue from 821 million cattle, sheep, goats, chickens, and pigs.
It's not a part of agriculture. It's part of agriculture and my husbandry. That's what, I mean, only yesterday we talked about it. No, a couple of days ago. Yes, we talked about it. That we need to shift. We need to shift our tentacles elsewhere. Agriculture. Well, that's a good idea if they follow it up appropriately and diligently. Because there's a lot of resource in that part of agriculture.
Okay.
And a lot of countries rely on that. Brazil, for instance, okay, the beef we get from Brazil, sometimes from Argentina, and yes, we have a lot coming from this country. We can develop that. It can give us earnings, very serious earnings. I'm happy now they are thinking of that.
Okay.
But it shouldn't just be animal husbandry. What of economic trees? We must go back to those resources. Yes, cocoa is there waiting to be tapped. Rubber is still there. Cotton. Yes, is there. Oil palm is there. Rich. Yes. Companies involved in oil palm production in this country, we can mention two in Edo State, for instance, Okomo and the other one. They turn out millions upon millions on a yearly basis. Yes. millions, if not billions, on a yearly basis in terms of profit. Yeah. So we can go back to that. And Nigeria has a lot of, it's an agrarian society or country. We have a lot of potentials coming from our land. Climate is good. The soil is fertile. And the human resource is there. We have people who can do serious farming in this country. So why are we leaving all that to go into petroleum, which will soon fade away anyway? Yes.
Well, front page, Guardian newspapers. Misery, harsh policies, driving Nigerians to desperate choices.
Well, incidentally, there are no riders to that, but we can tell. I mean, obviously, misery, harsh policies. Okay? And that is the exact picture that the Guardian is giving. I give thumbs up to the Guardian because they say the way it is, even from the editorials. Okay? But you see, Nigerians really are going through a spell. It's a spell of, I won't say doom, but gloom. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is quite gloomy. By the day, it's getting more and more gloomy by the day. And I don't think we deserve all of that. We do not. Look, it's even in the Constitution that government's duty is to provide security and welfare for the people. Welfare meaning that we must make the people happy all the time. The people must be happy. I mean, that's the essence of governance, right? When the people are not happy, they say all sorts of things about the government, all sorts of things. Go to the marketplace and hear what they are saying about the administration. Yes. Go to filling stations, hear what they are saying. Go on the roads, go on public transport with our terrible roads. But these things are doable, quite frankly. They are doable because that is why people are put in place to govern. All right? But if governance is not striking the right trajectory,
yes.
you are likely to have this kind of upheavals. That's what the Guardian is talking about. Misery all over the place. People are not happy in this country. We must say for the opportune time. Nigerians are not happy. They are not happy because they are living from hand to mouth. The middle class is gone completely.
Yes.
Completely. And yes, Senator Akpabio was saying the other day that if you have 2 cars, drop one. How many has he dropped? In any case, this new policy from the federal government, why should it affect only the executive alone? They should go down the line, even to the National Assembly. The number of cars. You can imagine the convoy of each senator or each member of the House of Reps.
Exactly.
With a very terrible multiplier effect. Think of it. So the whole thing should start from the top, really. Not just with the executive, but also with the legislature. Yes, that's what we are looking up to, and I hope it comes into reality.
All right, talking about legislature, okay, well, not that arm of the government now, actually. The Vanguard is saying federal government sets up 46-man committee to review obsolete laws.
Well, they have a right to do that. Yes, quite frankly, they have a right to do that. But I thought they could just have mentioned those obsolete laws.
Okay.
That would have been better. All right. There are laws, obviously, that are obsolete. We mentioned some a few days ago when we were talking about the issue of environmental protection.
Yes.
Yes. There are laws that are not, you cannot really truly enforce. But we must enforce them. Actually, it's not even the laws that are the issue. It's the enforcement of those laws.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. More of enforcement. That's where the problem is. Yes, it's true that some laws may be obsolete. I mean, for instance, gas flaring.
Yeah.
Laws against gas flaring. How much is involved? Very small. So rather than the culprit paying fines, they decide to flare gas.
Yes.
Yes.
And okay, at the end of the day,
it's a very small amount of money. Very small amount. Even forestry laws against tree felling and all sort of things. These are obsolete laws.
Okay.
And we must look at them very holistically. And I hope that that committee will be made up of the stakeholders, particularly the Nigerian Bar Association, many prominent retired judicial officers. I don't know what the composition is of the committee, but these are stakeholders that should give us a good direction. Okay? And, again, the issue is this review of the laws must be a regular occurrence.
Okay.
It must be done regularly. Yeah, I can't remember when our laws were reviewed in this country.
I think
quite
there
a
was an
long time.
individual who was saying since 2004. That was the last time.
So that's where we are. All right. But this thing should happen, quite frankly, on a regular basis. You know, there are laws that just become useless through the efflution of time. Yes, they become quite reasonable. So that's it.
All right, we'll move to the front page of the Daily Times newspaper, where we have June 12, 1993 presidential poll umpire Humphrey Wonsu dies at 84.
Well, may so rest in peace. First of all, may so rest in peace. I thought we could get a picture, but
yeah, I think we actually do have a picture of him.
But it doesn't matter. But he's gone. Yeah, that's him. That's Wonsu, Professor Humphrey Wonsu.
Yes.
His tenure was quite turbulent because he was the one in charge of INEC when June 12 election was annulled. He was the one in charge. And there were lots and lots of controversies around. And in any case, he had the opportunity of staging the best election we've ever had in this country. And what was that? Option A4. How I wish, I'm talking as a person now, I wish we would go back to that.
Okay.
Option A4. It would be less cumbersome, less expensive, and it would be free from all these encumbrances of ballot box snatching. Because in option A4, you don't have ballot boxes. You know, they just count you and everybody goes home.
Exactly.
Yes. We are running away from that because politicians do not like it. Yes, it gives room for propriety, but they don't like propriety. Politicians, Nigerian politicians, they don't like what is proper. Okay? But that was option A4, Humphrey Wonsu. And I'm happy, though, that his memory has lived on this long, because a lot of people really wrote him off completely. Okay? At a point in time, he said his hands were tied. Remember? Yes, when the election was annulled.
Yes.
Okay? And the election was already won and lost. Yes. The two combatants, they are gone now, unfortunately. Abiola and Tofa. They are both gone. You know, the vestiges of June 12, even though the combatants have gone, and even though the umpire now has gone, the vestiges and the memories, they remain with us almost forever. Because that's one election that people still are judged as the best, the fairest in the history of this country. And how I wish we would go back to that, to remove all these encumbrances. Yes.
Well, with that, we'll come to the end of the newspaper analysis for today. But, well, first of all, thank you once again for coming on the program.
Yes, thanks a lot. We're always here, and I hope our viewers are there for us.
And so on this note, like I would always say, don't go away, please stay tuned.